Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
And good morning. You know what, folks? Appreciate who you are. There is no one, anyone, anywhere in the world like you. God has blessed you. Amen. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot with a Pledge of Allegiance. John's messing with my computer, scared me to death. Good morning. Oh, thank you very much, Kate Smith, and God bless America. The wind is still blowing out there. I'm so sick of the wind. But it looks like it might be a nice day. Anyhow, good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch, and I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Big Founders Day celebration going on. And don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance to start off the day right. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir.
Hey, go ahead, my friend.
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Attaboy, Wheels. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, we go right to the weather to find out if this doggone wind is going to quit. Weather brought to you by K&R Rental. Hello, Roger and the crew. They're already over there. Man, they open the doors at 7 o'clock in the morning. They said, we want to be here early to help everybody. At 256 South 600 west of Hebron, right there on the Burley-Paul Highway, they've got the best tools and equipment right there for your use to finish any job you've got. Stop over. Give them a call, 678-3122. K&R Rental. Right now, here's the weather.
It appears this high-pressure system will be sticking around for the rest of the week, but it's going to be windy as well. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Mostly sunny skies for today. We are expecting winds out of the west, right around 15 miles an hour, gusts possible as high as 30 miles an hour. High of 46 today. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low right near 32. Winds are going to be dying down just a skosh. For tomorrow, mostly sunny skies. High of 52, partly cloudy, and 35 for Wednesday night. Thursday, mostly sunny skies. Thursday's going to be the warmest day of the week with a high of 57. Still going to be a little on the breezy side. Partly cloudy and 38 for Thursday night. Friday, winds are picking up again. Mostly sunny skies and a high of 54 by Saturday. Mostly sunny, breezy, and 41. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Breezy, windy. I'm sick of that. Anyway, the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South 600 west of Hebron. Right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. You cannot miss it. They've got all the tools and equipment to finish any construction project you've got. And if you're not sure what you need, just stop in and visit with them. They can help. They will help. Roger and the crew at K&R Rental on the Burley-Paul Highway, 678-3122. I don't want you to forget that Thursday is sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Merv, May, Cade, Roggy, Lance, Udy, all of them working at the sale that works for you. Sale time will be 10 a.m. unless I tell you differently. Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley, with a telephone number to call for your cattle consignments and sale information, 678-9411. Don't forget that's coming up on this Thursday. And a real quick note about, and this is not brag, this is a fact. Burley has the greatest cleaners in the world, Daryl's Cleaners. Oh, they care. Oh, they can restore items. Oh, they get the stains out. Oh, they make your rumply crumplies look brand spanking new. Boy, some of the things I've taken in there, I can't believe it. I go to pick them up and I say, I didn't buy that. That looks brand new. Anyway, they do a fantastic job. So why don't you just absolutely go in there and be amazed, be surprised, and be pleased with the net result at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, serving you. Let's see. I've got a lot of things to remind you of. Here's something I want to get taken care of right away. The annual Lincoln Day banquet will take place Saturday, February 24th at the Burley Inn, and the meet and greet starts at 12 noon, lunch at 1, and they're going to have an auction. They're expecting a lot of the politicos to be there, including Congressman Mike Simpson. I'm going to behave. All the governor's candidates, lieutenant governor candidates. It's going to be a big, big deal. We hope you're there. Tickets are $25 a ticket, and that's going to be coming up on February 24th. Don't you miss it at the Burley Inn. I want to remind you, too, about Ramsey Heating and Electric for all of your heating and electrical needs. Yes, heating, cooling, electrical needs, all of this and more. They've got a great big warehouse, storehouse. They've got the best of people working and serving you. They've been in business for over almost 60 years. Wow, that's really impressive. And they're located at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. They open the doors at 7:30 in the morning till 5, Monday through Friday. Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. I know this may come as a real shock to your system this morning, but I'm going to be in total agreement with a small story that the Times News had in the paper on this past Saturday. As you know, my feelings are very, very pointed for getting vaccinations. I do not respect anyone, any parent that does not get their child in for vaccinations and what it does to endanger other people of all ages. Now, there have been at least 13 cases of whooping cough that has broken out in Magic Valley school districts, 3 of the districts, I believe. Now, the vaccines supposedly are required for kids to attend public schools. I do not know why this is not being adhered to. I do not know why school administrators aren't standing up and being tough enough with a backbone to say, no, you can't come to school until you get those vaccinations. I don't know why. I'd like somebody to tell me. And it just absolutely allows, like the newspaper story said, and I very seldom ever agree with the Times News, but I do this time, it allows, and I'll use their words, the children to become vehicles for disease that endangers them and any other children they come in contact with, unquote. That is a fact. And I am absolutely appalled to think that some people, and I've heard these stupid statements by mothers and fathers, when in conversations they say, well, we don't need to get that polio vaccine, and we don't need that vaccine, and we don't need this because those things are gone. Well, how do you think they make a comeback? How do you think they make a resurgence? How do you think they start taking their toll again? It's because of idiotic people that do not get their children vaccinated. I'm not going to weaken on my words. It's an endangerment to the rest of us. I urge you to reconsider if you're not vaccinating your children. It's just absolutely not healthy or good, not only for them, but others around them. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I take your call. If you don't agree with me, that's fine, but I'm not going to back up on that one. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, America's Diner. And you can take your sweetie to Denny's Restaurant for a very special Valentine dinner from 4 to 10 p.m. every Monday and Wednesday, 3-course dinner for only $20. Boy, on Valentine's Day, the dinner special lasts all day long. You better take your lovey in there and enjoy. It's great eating, great menu choices. She's going to think the world of you at Denny's Restaurant. America's Diner. Believe me, that's the home of Zeb's Lunch Munch, and we love the food. 611 North Overland and Burley, and then also at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Denny's Restaurant. Caller, I'll be right there. Do not go away. I've got to pay one more bill, and I want to say thanks to Pomerelle Place, a place for senior living. And I absolutely want to thank Holly. She put together a little bag of candy and some treats for our last lunch bunch. That was really nice of her, and appreciate all of her effort over there at Pomerelle Place. As I said, a place for senior living. No more isolation and living alone. No more having to worry about the safety hazards and the injuries. No more poor nutrition or missed medication. Pomerelle Place offers seniors the ability for seniors to maintain their independence both safely and comfortably. Call them today. Pomerelle Place at 1301 Bennett Street in Burley, 677-8212. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Zeb. A lot of the, in my opinion, and I could be very well wrong, but a lot of the comeback of some of these diseases that we've almost eradicated in the U.S. is coming back from people who shouldn't be here to begin with, from other countries who don't vaccinate and don't believe in it.
That's very true.
Our little one is protecting our future, protecting our children, protecting our welfare and the betterment of our society.
You know, Riley, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. And you can't worry if you're going to offend somebody on a talk show. I'm just going to be blunt. I'm going to be honest. Very, very few people have gone through what I and very few others have gone through as far as polio and the residual effects of that and everything else. So don't anybody come up to me and say that vaccinations are not necessary. That is concern to me because those are fighting words.
You know, it's proved that it's necessary. Just history has proved itself that it has. Before all the vaccinations, how many people like yourself were cursed with it, with polio?
That's right. And
as time goes on, and then I hear the sorrowful exclaim of, well, there's poisons in this.
Oh, my goodness, no.
Why would you poison your own people that you're trying to help?
You know, I'm so sick and tired of hearing all the excuses when, in essence, all they're doing is jeopardizing them, their family, the kids, and their neighbors, their school, and the list goes on, because the resurgence of these diseases, I don't care if it's whooping cough, I don't care if it's polio. We cannot allow that to rear its ugly head again in society.
I totally agree. And this one last point before I go, and this may dry some ire with some people, and I frankly don't care. God made us smart enough that we could improve our lifestyle so that way we didn't go the way of the dodo bird, frankly. And if we don't take those gifts that He has given us to better mankind, we are going to go the way of the dodo bird.
I agree with that. I am not going to argue with that at all. Thank you, Riley. I appreciate it. Yeah, I get really, really upset thinking about people, these kids, you know, suffering from the whooping cough. And what's next? You know, the return of all the other diseases, rubella, and then we're talking about polio. And then people say the dumbest things like, well, it's been cured. No. It's been stopped, stymied, and eradicated for the present thanks to the Salk vaccine and other vaccines. Why in the world give it a chance for a resurgence and let it rise, I hope not, ever to epidemic proportions like it did back in the early 50s? Use your heads. Calls welcome, and I'll take any call. You better believe it. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Dino Septic Service in Rupert. I'm going to give you the numbers right up front. And let's see, I got the number for Rupert right here. I stuttered and stammered because I lost it on the floor there for a moment. Now I've picked it up. 436-6526. Burley, 678-1638. Dino Septic Service. Septic tanks pumped. They've done that for me. Septic tanks and drain fields installed. They've got the very best of sewer and sink drain lines cleaned. Liquid waste removal. They're doing the job that you and I don't want to do. And they do it so efficiently and so well. Fast, fair, friendly service. You bet. Call them today. Dino Septic Service in Rupert. With that great big truck that says, smells cargo. On the way. I love it. Dino Septic Service. Thank you very much. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Real quick, too, I want to remind you about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Excuse me. Nick Greenwell, I know Nick really well, and all the physical therapists there, they are so highly trained. They are so educated with all the exercises and the muscular and skeletal exercises that you need to have to get you back to being you. These people are good. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And they got that hydrotherapy pool, too, with the treadmill in the bottom. Oh, I have walked a zillion miles, but boy, did it ever help me. Call them today for an appointment, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. I urge you to call them. They are the best. All right, calls are welcome. You know, I'm surprised people didn't call over that opening story about the vaccinations. I really would like to hear from you. And like I've said, I always, after the program's over, I can always expect the naysayers to any topic I bring up to chew me out after the program's over or send me emails. But I wish they had the backbone or the spine to do it on the program. It would be much better appreciated. Did you hear about Canada's Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau? This guy is like a willow in the wind, a limp dish rag, can't stand for anything, no spine. You know, he was the guy that really pushed and pushed for the national anthem, the Canadian national anthem, to go gender neutral. And I'm going to tell you in just a few minutes what he did yesterday that just, whoo, if it had been me, I'd have had a real shouting match with this man. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hi. I just had heard you talking about your polio, and I had an older brother who had symptoms of polio, and my dad had a sister-in-law who had just gotten home from serving in the war, and she was a nurse and trained to recognize unusual diseases, and she knew about polio. And when my older brother started showing symptoms of polio, she moved herself into our house, and she put him in a room and took care of him. And he did have polio, but she knew what she was doing, and he has not been had any long-term things from it. But because she knew what she was doing, we owe her, his life. And he's still alive and well, but he didn't end up with a crippling result.
Well, a lot of people, when they came down with the poliomyelitis, it affected them in so many different ways. Some people got the virus and it just put them down for the count and almost died. I was one of those. My sister had it and it left her after 10 days with no residual effects. So it was something that hit some and knocked them down like a bowling pin at the end of the alley, and others it didn't affect that severely. But why in the world would anybody make such a stupid comment like, well, we've got rid of them so we don't have to take the vaccines or the vaccinations today? That is complete incompetency.
Yes, it is, because it still is rampant in other parts of the world.
That's right.
And Americans go everywhere in this world. And if they don't have a vaccination, they're probably prime candidates for bringing it home.
Well, and Chris, the one thing that always irritates me, and I've mentioned this on this program before, is that those that are the naysayers, they don't have the backbone to call me on the program and state why they want to put their children and other children, and quite frankly, the elderly in jeopardy by not having a vaccination program. But my main concern is, why are the schools not adhering to a vaccination policy and letting them slip under the door and come to school anyway? That offends me.
Well, do you remember when we were little kids, they came into the schools, and I guess they got our parents' permission, but I got my polio shots at school.
Yeah. Yeah,
And that's how you get them. I was in, I think, the second grade.
Well, I'm not going to dwell on this too much this morning, but I will say that I'm not going to ever weaken on this subject because, and I know this sounds very ego-centered, but there ain't too many people that know about it as much as I do.
Well, and those of us that do know something about it have to speak up.
Amen. Thank you for calling. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I want to remind you, please, about the urgent cares. Oh, my goodness, Kyle and Alex and the rest of those folks, what great people that are doing all they can to help cut healthcare costs. Absolutely. And they're open 7 days a week with extended hours. You get treated, not seated. No appointment necessary, and they always have a qualified provider on staff at 3 locations of the urgent cares. Riverview Urgent Care in Burley at 382 North Overland in Burley, Urgent Care of Jerome at 133 West Avenue A in Jerome, and Urgent Care of Twin Falls right there on 2392 Addison Avenue East. You know, you got a owie there, bunkie, fell off the ladder, sprain, strain, fracture, or you cut yourself or whatever, and for the businesses, the drug screening and the DOT physicals, everything. Hey, I'm telling you, they are there to serve you. The urgent cares. I've mentioned where they are. I'll say it again. The urgent cares, Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, Urgent Care of Twin Falls, and Urgent Care of Jerome, serving you, your family, and your business. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call on the landline. Excuse me, got a little bit of a sore throat this morning. And Deanne had a cold, and I've been fighting a cold, and we're just sitting there going, oh, I don't want to feel sorry for myself, but I'm all stuffed up. Anyhow, good morning, and give us a call. Talking about Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, yesterday, or in the last couple of days, he was giving a speech, and he was taking questions. And a young lady in the audience stood up and said and phrased her question in regards to the future of mankind. And Canada's Prime Minister Trudeau stopped her in mid-sentence and said, and corrected her and said, no, we don't say mankind anymore. We say people kind. The people in Canada, especially on the mid to eastern side of Canada, are so cowed into being politically correct and doing things a different way and accepting less than normal. And had I been in the audience, I guarantee you if that would have been me, I would have stood up and said, no, I will say mankind. You do not censor or take away words that I want to use. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, I'm all for vaccinations. I've had all of mine. When I was in school, we had kids drop out of class that got polio. I don't know how many times. I had 2 or 3 of my friends were in iron lungs, which I'm sure you've seen a few of them too.
I have.
And you were probably in one at one time or another.
I was.
And, you know, it was a heartbreaking thing to see that. It really was.
I cannot stand to think about a resurgence of one of the most insidious virus diseases ever to hit the world, and that's polio. And for somebody, I don't care man or woman, father, mother, aunt, uncle, to come up to me and say that vaccinations are not necessary, oh, well, we've got that licked. No, we don't. There is always that chance of that recurrence because it is in some of the third world nations, and some of those people are coming here.
What a horrible way for a young kid to have to live through, or things they have to live through while they're a young man.
That's right. That's right. I agree with you 100%. That's why I get so visibly and audibly upset, or better yet, teed off with people that don't understand the seriousness.
And the other thing I called about, there's a young kid out there that's going to have a birthday in February. That's Eddie Noggle. And he says he's winning all the door prizes at Lunch Bunch, but he don't know when it's going to be. And he keeps calling me and asking me.
Well, he should have been listening yesterday, Jerry.
And I don't think he's going to win all the prizes because it's Deanne's birthday. I think she will.
Well, I tell you what, she is having her birthday this month. I said yesterday that it's going to be on the 22nd, so evidently Eddie missed that.
Okay, well, I am sure he's listening because he just called me and asked me.
Okay.
And I told him I was going to call in and do this.
All right, well.
I tried to get him to do it, but he's afraid to call in.
Well, never be afraid to call in. If you got a point of view, I know you will. Everybody's welcome. Jerry, God bless you, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, you have a wonderful day, and may the Lord bless you and every one of them other people out there listening.
Amen. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
I didn't go any specific gender, because I know there's only two.
That's right.
But all them other people that's out there, we bless them.
We don't have to wake up in the morning and wonder who or what we are. Thank you very much, Jerry. And right now I got to tell you this, too. Give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Barry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts. Now, 3 locations serving you. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Juan. Hello, Juan, the old football coach right there. And 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls with Eli, the old Green Bay Packer fan right there. Me too. And, of course, up in Nampa. They are serving you with the best. Absolutely the best. They are the Bobcat and Doosan Equipment Sales, Service, and Parts Rental Dealership. They've got them all. All the Bobcats, all the shapes and sizes, new and used excavators, equipment rentals, and equipment sales. Don't know how to run one, Bunky? Well, don't worry about it. They got a big sandbox out behind, and they'll give you some lessons. And boy, you can have a good time with that. So stop in and see them today. Barry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts. Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. Barry Equipment and Rental. Really, really good people. We've got a very special happening going on tonight, and I want to urge you to be there in attendance at Waddell and Reed office, 1146 Eastland Drive North in Twin Falls. Tonight at 6:30, they are going to have a great big farm and ranch succession planning meeting. Brian Scott, Dan King, Todd Lovelace, financial advisors with Waddell and Reed, are going to be explaining the need for farm and ranch succession planning, who needs a plan, what you need to do to get your plan in place. Don't miss this. Now, I urge you to call them right now, before you forget, for RSVP for tonight at 732-7695. 732-7695. And it's tonight at their office, 1146 Eastland Drive North in Twin Falls. Waddell and Reed, and it is a free educational seminar, farm and ranch succession planning. Very, very interesting. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. If somebody corrected you, and let's say you're maybe giving a speech, or maybe you're at a meeting, or maybe you're standing talking to some people at a party or at the grocery store, and you refer to mankind or anything like that, and they correct you and say, no, you can't say that. You've got to say people kind. What would you say? I know what I'd say. I would say I'm going to mention, and there's nothing wrong about what you said, and you're going to keep on saying it the way that it has been accepted. And you know, this goes right over to another story that I saw last night on television, and it highly offended me. And it was about an Episcopalian priest in Washington, D.C., that is advocating at his church and others of the Episcopalian faith to start demanding no borders. Now, this man evidently hasn't thought through common sense. No borders, anybody can go helter-skelter. Who is going to pay the bill? Who is going to fork over the society of keeping things safe and sane? No borders, anarchy. And then he said, in reference to God, no more genders. Gender neutral. Oh, this is insane. And they, with the Episcopalian Church back in Washington, D.C., they said, oh, we're going to accept all transgenders and all the reference will be to whatever gender they want to go to. And some places on the East Coast, like New York City with the dipstick de Blasio and the rest of them, they're claiming there's like close to 60 different genders that the police and everybody else has got to adhere to. It's nuts. It's nuts. And also, here was the thing that really blew my mind. He said that their church and others under his power or others that agree with him, with the Episcopalian churches, they will be a sanctuary for illegal aliens. I don't know how the Episcopals feel in this area. I would imagine, being much more conservative area, they probably are against what this Episcopalian priest said. No borders, no more reference to God as him or he. There will be gender neutral, and they will also become sanctuaries for illegal aliens. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on this. Again, have the nerve to call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, I really hope and pray that everybody just voices your opinion. You've got it out there. You got the phone line or a cell phone, so use it. And I'd like to hear really what you have to say about these things. I'm a little bit concerned about what's going on in this whole world. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, how are you this morning?
Oh, peachy fine, thank you.
Now, what I was going to just point out, it's going to be a quick one here. It just seems like that this neutral gender thing and everything like this, there's always kind of little talk here and there and stuff. But ever since this stupid Bruce Jenner thing and what have you, it just seems like it really, really, really escalated.
Yeah.
Where they figure everybody's got to be this way, they got to think more this way, they got to accept what's there, and it just seemed like since the gender thing is when it really kind of escalated.
You know, it might have been a catalyst for putting this out in front of the public and the liberal loons wanting to accept this and embrace this. I will never abide by it. I will never abide by it. And I underline the word never because God made the male and the female. Those are the two genders. I will not ever accept anything else. I will not be gender specific about following their liberal slant. I won't do that. I don't know if you will bend. I won't.
Yeah, that's me. If I said something like mankind or whatever, and said, "Oh it's people kind and what have you," I had to say, "Hey, you say it your way, I'll say it my way. Until then, just mind your own business."
There you go. That's exactly right, too, because I'm not going to ask for or would ever accept a rewrite of the Bible that makes everything from God all through the Bible on every other reference gender neutral. That is a sanitization that is not for us to do, and I will not abide by it. I will not abide by it. Thank you very much for your opinion this morning. You had the nerve to call, and I appreciate it.
Great day, bud.
Thank you. There's a man that had the nerve to call, and I appreciate it. Hey, there is a big doings going on. It's called Agri-Service Customer Appreciation Day. It's going to be tomorrow, Wednesday, February 7th, beginning at 11 a.m. at 300 Agri-Service Way in Kimberly. Woo, they got a ripping, good-looking new location. And I tell you what, you need to get there because it's going to be from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's when lunch is going to be served, and they're going to have all the new equipment there, and you can talk to the product specialists. They're going to have a lot of vendors there. Oh, my goodness, it's their way to say thank you for being a customer. Agri-Service Customer Appreciation Day, February 7th, Wednesday, tomorrow at 11 a.m. in Kimberly. Hey, look for them. Great business, Agri-Service. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zap, I got something. I told my wife something this morning, and I'm going to tell you that. How long do these people think that the Lord is going to put up with this? You know, we're all going to be destroyed by fire if we don't straighten up.
Well, it's not a question. I agree with everything you said, but it's not a question of if. It's not a question of if. I mean, I believe in what the Bible prophesies. I believe in what the Bible says. And that doesn't elevate me over anyone else. It doesn't elevate me over you, your wife, or anybody else. But I just believe in the Bible. And I'm not going to accept the filth and the absolute stupidity of mankind.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I'll tell you what, there's man and woman and fit.
Yeah, amen. I mean, why in the world are we letting society absolutely draw all these different terminologies and phraseologies and how we're supposed to not say this and not say that? I'm not going to abide by it. I don't know about you. I'm an old man. I'm 70 years old, and I'm not going to change.
They say there's less than 0.5% of this, and we're giving in to these people. We're crazy.
Well, there you go. You just kind of touched on the whole problem. We're crazy because we're even listening to this. You know, it should have been scoffed off and put in a closet and locked up. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, have a good day, Zeb.
I will, sir. God bless you, sir. I appreciate it. You know, I don't know why the news... Well, I do know why, because it's a way of taking control and being liberalized, and it's against society's norms, and it's against family and moral values, and that's what the left is trying to do today. It is. Don't deny it. They're trying to destroy everything that's good and acceptable in this world, and they're trying to just make it into a filthy mess. And you know what? Because we're not doing anything about it, they're winning. But on this program, I'm not going to allow it. I can turn the knob off right here, turn the power switch off on this program. If I am ever forced to act in their manner or accept their manner, ain't gonna do it. In very simple English. Not going to happen here. It's male and female. Those are the only two genders. If you have a problem with that, you really have a problem. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I urge you to be aware that if you have a hearing problem, to get a hold of our dear friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Oh, my goodness, Dr. Christine Pickup, and the new doctor that's over there also, Dr. Courtney Mitchell, joining the practice, and they are really, really taking care of all your hearing health evaluation needs. Don't forget to give them a call for an appointment. That number, 312-0957. They are right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Lovely folks over there, I'll tell you what. Hey, right now, here's the weather with Gina.
It appears this high-pressure system will be sticking around for the rest of the week, but it's going to be windy as well. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Mostly sunny skies for today. We are expecting winds out of the west, right around 15 miles an hour. Gusts possible as high as 30 miles an hour. High of 46 today. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low right near 32. Winds are going to be dying down just a skosh. For tomorrow, mostly sunny skies. High of 52, partly cloudy, and 35 for Wednesday night. Thursday, mostly sunny skies. Thursday's going to be the warmest day of the week with a high of 57. Still going to be a little on the breezy side. Partly cloudy and 38 for Thursday night. Friday, winds are picking up again. Mostly sunny skies and a high of 54 by Saturday. Mostly sunny, breezy, and 41. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
And we want to remind you, Dr. Pickup and Dr. Mitchell pride themselves on caring for each individual with customized and personal treatment plans. At Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids in Rupert, the number to call, 312-0957. I would like to hear from you, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I wanted to respond a little bit this morning with some programs that I've got scheduled, segments I should say, for this next week. I know that Lance Clow and others have taken some heat from the Times News and from others that are absolute and adamant that climate change is in existence and that not 99.1 of it percent is caused by humankind, etc. Not so fast there, buckwheat. And then there was a little article in the paper this last Sunday that was unsigned. Nobody knows who wrote it. Editorial board at the Times News. They never sign anything. And they made kind of a scoff at those of us that do not believe man has caused all the problems, of course, with climate change. Here's a point to consider and think about. Climate is changing. Climate has changed in the past. But what I'm going to do next week is when they make stupid, frivolous statements like they did in the Times News article that was in the paper this last weekend, saying that basically an overwhelming majority of scientists, that's not true. That is a lie. And I will dispute that and disparage that. Because little by little, inch by inch, the facts are coming out. And from Princeton University to some of the other major world-known universities of study, they are shooting big holes in the climate change theory. They are shooting big holes in the climate change models and the prediction of warmer climes. And we're going to have people on that know and are willing to stick their neck out and say that this baloney about overwhelming majority of scientists, not true. Be listening next week. We're going to have those folks on the air. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, I've got to get this on, too. The sky is not falling this morning, and the end is not near. And please do not run for the hills because the stock market took a tumbling yesterday. It was a normal adjustment of selling off a lot of the stocks. An adjustment. Now, I am not a stock market analyst, never purported to be, etc., but I read a lot about the stock market. And these things happen when you have a skyrocketing effect on prices. In my own layman's terminology, sooner or later that rocket's going to run out of fuel that was skyrocketing the projections and the sales on the stock market, and you will have a selling off period. And yes, it will go down, but yes, it is also a natural event to setting into a normalcy. I honestly, firmly believe from everything I've read, everything I've heard, everybody I've talked to, that we are going to be seeing even more increases after we have a natural settling down effect. But the Democrats, including this Rachel Madoff on television, she has the IQ of a great big hockey puck. And she was saying, well, it was like a drunk running into a ditch, and everybody was yelling and screaming at Donald Trump. Oh, my goodness, this is terrible. Well, Trump didn't have anything to do with it going down. It's a natural selling off of stock positions. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. I find it very interesting that, coincidentally, that the day that the person who's in charge of all the financial stuff and the stock markets and all that stuff, the day that that individual retired and said that the stock market has to go down, it did.
You know, Sharon, wait a minute. I'm not going to go into any clandestine theories. If you follow the stock market at all, if you own stocks, and I do, you will see that if everything that goes up must come down, there has to be some price adjustments, there has to be ownership adjustments of the stock, and it's a natural settling, if you will, of the stock market. I don't think it's going to be long term, but I'm telling you, all these buffoons on the left that are going, see, we told you this would happen with Donald Trump, that's completely stupid.
And the thing of it is, too, is people need to understand, and I still think it's a coincidence, but people still need to understand that when the stock market goes down, there are still people who make money on that. People make money when it goes down. People make money when it goes up. But I don't, but there are people who do, because they know what they're looking for and know what's happening and happen to be in the right place at the right time. And you're right. It's like a teeter-totter. It all has to go up and down, up and down. It's the way it is.
When a home run is hit in a baseball game, it goes up, up, and away, but eventually it gets caught out in left field, maybe 10 rows up. Okay, that's kind of like the stock market. It went up, up, and away, but now they have the sell-offs, and they've got this guy saying, well, I don't need this, I'm going to deplete that stock, etc., and you're going to have naturalization, lowness, and sell-off in the market.
Exactly. And like I say, somebody out there is still making money on the deal.
Yeah. Now,
it's not a bust.
You know, one thing I have done, and I'll share this with you. I don't have a lot in the stock market, but I do watch it, I read it, I study it, and when I get overages on my stocks, I call and I sell that overage. Why? Because I don't want to gamble with that overage. I leave my base in there, I sell my overage, and I use it to pay off bills or put it from my own private investment savings accounts. That's what I do when I consider that I'm going to make a little money on my stocks. I take the money, and hopefully it will garner more.
Exactly. And that's what people are doing. And probably, in my guesstimation, is there some people out there that owe taxes, and so they had to sell off to pay their taxes.
Let's not bring up dirty words on my program. Thank you.
Anyway, it's all an up and down, and it's not that big of a deal.
Thanks, Sharon.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, sir. The Dow's up 22 points right now.
Oh, my goodness, the sky is falling. Run for the hills.
Boy, didn't the mainstream media go to every extent they could to try to nail this on Trump?
Did you hear some of these loons get on TV yesterday, and they get paid to act stupid?
Well, I don't get paid to act stupid, but no, they were. It was hilarious how they just, I mean to tell you what.
You know, honestly, Austin Goolsbee made a comment yesterday, and he's a Democratic strategist. I thought it was one of the dumbest things I heard. I wished I could remember it verbatim, but he said, aha, see, with Trump, it's the biggest decline, and Trump's the president. You know, Trump and the stock market, yeah, he is a great businessman, but you know, you're not going to be able to play or point the finger at Donald Trump for the rise, escalation, or the demise, or the fall of the stocks. It was a natural sell-off yesterday. I'm not at all concerned.
I'm not either. It did drop back down, but shoot, all we did was just eliminate what we gained in 2018.
There you go. And you know, for the sky falling, I didn't see Chicken Little on my doorstep yesterday.
No. Whenever the Democrats get all excited about something like that, it doesn't bother me a bit because I know it's all propaganda.
Yeah, and you know something, Doug? The thing is about the stock market, I am not anywhere near an expert. I don't know. I'm not giving you any investing tips or anything. But I watch it because it kind of fascinates me. And what I've done works for me. Maybe it's not going to work for somebody else. But, you know, to sit there and go, oh, I'm going to go up in the South Hills and I'm going to just rip my clothes off and wait for the end of the world. All that's going to do is just scare the deer.
Exactly. Well, it's up 44 points now.
Yeah. Gee, I think we should be absolutely scared to death.
Well, if you were in the stock market for the last 5 years, you're not hurting one bit.
I have been. Deanna and I have been in on a limited basis for about 40 years. We saw what happened after 9/11, and boy, did it ever hurt our portfolio, what was left. Yeah. And so I think I've seen the good, bad, and the ugly.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, like I said, there's people, you're still ahead. You're still 33% up since President Trump got elected.
And if you think for 5 minutes I'm going to call our stockbroker today and say, oh my gosh, sell, you're nuts.
I'd call and say bye.
Yeah, amen. Hey, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Okay, give us a tagline real fast.
All right, let's take care of our seniors, folks.
Okay.
Let's do for them what they done for us when we was young and growing up.
Amen, buddy. Hey, talk to you later. Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you. Hey, Founders Celebration at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, my goodness. All 7 locations, and they've got the best of tires. Listen, let me talk to you about some of these great buys. They've got for your pickups and SUVs a tire starting at just $89.99, low-cost all-season radial. Ooh, that is a good fair price. You better get in and check it out today. And they got the backcountry all-terrain tire for your pickup and SUVs, traction for all-terrains. Wow. Prices that you really can save money on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You know, I don't know where they get all the great people to work at these Les Schwab Tire Centers, but they're caring, they're conscientious, they're service-oriented, and they really do a great job with the best in brake service and front-end alignments and shocks and struts and batteries at all 7 locations. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, and, of course, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul. What nice people. Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. They are the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. Coming up next hour, Jeff Cantor's going to be here. And then at 9:30, our Idaho Legislative Update brought to you by Handy Truck Line, Senator Kelly Anthon. Don't go away. Wheels, it's all yours. Oh, my. And the wind continues to blow, not only right here in this studio, but outside, too. Hey, don't forget Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, and our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. Absolutely. Along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Nick and the crew helping you get back to being you. Absolutely. Right now, old Wheels has got his finger perched right over the top of the button for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
You call Western Waste Services and tell them you need a dumpster. You're cleaning out the basement. Your wife says you're also going to clean out the garage. And then my wife also says you got to do something with your office. They come in various sizes. I need the big one. And all you have to do is call them. They'll drop it off. You fill it up. They'll come get it. The dumpsters with Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Give them a call today, 734-6969, Western Waste Services. By the way, too, want to remind you that on Thursday we have a new addition to Zeb at the Ranch, and we have a special showing of our great friends at Cassia Regional Hospital, providing you and your family excellent health care, answers, and services. They're right here, close to home. Right here. That's right, Cassia Regional Hospital offers the latest technological advances in medicine, like their new oncology programs and telehealth, which uses electronic information and telecommunications. Absolutely, you get a hold of those good folks today to promote any long-distance patient and clinical health care, your friends and, of course, your neighbors, right here close to home. Cassia Regional Hospital, quality care close to home. And I have some people calling in on another line right now. I don't know where my wife went, but if you would please come get this other phone, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. And we have somebody trying to get me. Listen to these phone calls. I wish you could hear this in the background. The idiocy of these taped phone calls. He's telling me that I can get new student loans. I'm 70 years of age. I don't want your student loans. Ay. Thank you very much. Right now, let's also remind everybody about our good friends that are having a great big outing starting tomorrow at AgriService Customer Appreciation Day. It's going to be tomorrow, Wednesday, at the Kimberly location, 300 AgriService Way in Kimberly. Woo, are they going to have a party? Starts at 11 o'clock, complimentary lunch, and then you get a chance to see all the new, beautiful, big equipment at AgriService. All the product specialists are going to be there, vendors. They're going to have a ripping good time tomorrow. You better be there for lunch at AgriService Customer Appreciation Day tomorrow, 300 AgriService Way in Kimberly. Oh, it's going to be fun. Take that phone. I just had a call come in, honey, and it was our student loan call that we always get. Thank you very much. Let's go to the phone line right now. He's probably sick and tired of me a jabbering. Good morning, Jeff Cantor. How are you?
Hey, I am great. Hi, Zeb. How are you?
Jeff, let me ask you something off the top here. Nothing to do with our subject this morning. When you get home and you want to kick back the lazy boy and just relax, and you get these stupid, imbecilic calls of, hey, we can help you with your student loans, doesn't that just tee you off?
It certainly seems to come at the most inopportune time. I don't know how teed off I am, but they always seem the most impeccable time to call was totally in position.
Yeah, it's either at the dinner hour or when I'm just about ready to settle down, go to bed, take a shower, etc. And these taped interviews I have no time for. But I want to talk about a very serious subject with you, and that's the opioid crisis in America. You know, Jeff, in the last 3 years, I have had some very serious operations, and I was prescribed these opioids to take for the pain, which I threw away. I was told by medical doctors that be careful with those things, and I didn't even go get the prescriptions filled because I've heard some bad stories about this. Give us kind of a thumbnail sketch. How bad is this?
Well, as you can see, we're talking about it, which means it's bad, because it's getting really all the way out into the most mainstream of news. And, of course, and needless to say, it didn't happen overnight. It was a gradual process. But you're right about that. I mean, it's a very easy way that people start on these things is to be prescribed them for some reason. And, very often you really do need them, so I'm impressed you were able to survive without them at all. I mean, the smart thing is if you do get prescribed them, is you take, like, a half or 1/3 of whatever they're telling you you're allowed to take, and then don't try to use them all up. Just parse them out till you feel a little bit better, and then just tough out the pain. But, other people, it feels good. It resolves that pain. They start loading up on it. But then, of course, the doctor says, well, now you're cured. I can't give you any more. So now they either start doctor shopping or they get into the illegal market, and then when they can't get that anymore, then they turn to heroin. So it's become a complete disaster, Zeb.
Well, Jeff, and over at the station, Wheels crank Jeff up just a little bit when he's talking so I can hear him better. Jeff, this thing I did not know was going to get this completely out of hand, and there are more than 30,000 deaths per year attributed to opioids. Why have we let this happen to the point where it's running like a racehorse down the track out of control?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of it has to do with the concerns about illegal drugs and the war on drugs and all the rest of that stuff. So sometimes you have to kind of do one thing and say another type of situation. We've got ourselves boxed into a little bit. And then also some of these potential solutions are opening it up to let states, kind of experiment a little bit. The FDA and other organizations want to keep a tight lid on everything and control it, which, sometimes you got to let things run their course. Like what happened when the AIDS crisis took and all the AIDS patients themselves took to getting the drugs made illicitly. They kind of went and had their own labs that they set up to make this stuff, to do an end around. And look how quickly they finally started to try to come with some medication. So there's a lot of solutions that I've been hearing about throughout the country, and it seems like nobody really wants to pay attention to those. They just want to either shame everybody or beat up on the doctors even more so. So we've got a little kind of figure out which lane we should be in here, too.
Well, Jeff, what about the medication itself? You know, like I was told, Zeb, if you don't need this, don't take it. And I'm not bragging when I say this, Jeff. It's just the way I am. I've got a high tolerance to pain, which God blessed me with. And so when I heard the
luxury, unfortunately, you know, they're too weak in that regard. And I don't mean like that they're just a weak person per se, but just their metabolism or whatever.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is, you know, the pharmaceuticals and the insurance industry and the doctors are so conditioned to always write prescriptions that maybe there's a lot of alternatives, and there are, but they're not even educated on them, or they don't have the time to learn about them, and it's just easier to say, hey, get this script filled next. And that's part of the problem, too, for sure.
Yeah. Now, what about the opioids themselves? Because why can't there be just a cutback? Is there nothing else in the medical framework that would help counteract or counterbalance the pain? I mean, I hate to sound trite when I say this, but like Tylenol or anything else, do we have to really go that heavy on the opioids?
They probably don't in certain instances, I would venture to guess. But certain surgeries or whatever, they typically know the pain is pretty high level, so they'll jump to those right away. But, you know, there might be a way to do a step there, too. But the other big problem, you know, kind of comes down to the incentives for drug manufacture in the United States. And if you'll notice ads on TV, everything is geared towards a lifetime medication. The ability to make drugs because of so many other activities and issues and regulations or whatever, it's not profitable to develop drugs that people only take for a limited time window. And a pain pill you're only going to take for a short time, then you're done with it. There's no money in that.
But, you know, the residual effects of the drug itself, of people that I've talked to, medical practitioners that I've talked to, it causes a lot of physical impairments, I'll say, other than trying to treat the pain. It can be really devastating for the person's system.
Oh, as can any pill you put in your mouth. You have to remember it's not a naturally created thing, so your body's not designed to process it. It's going to stress your kidney, livers, and then any medication, when you take a look at that insert, they always seem to have a shopping list of problems associated with them. So, yes, it's always Russian roulette when you're taking any prescription meds. And these have been around for, you know, centuries kind of a thing. This is not a new drug, these opioids. And so we've known about the perils of them for a long time. And like I said, there's been stuff that were around before the opiates existed that people took to take care of pain and so on. So we've kind of decided this is our favorite thing to do, and now we're paying the price for this being so wedded to that treatment plan.
Well, Jeff, tell me a little bit about, when I read this as to what's going on in the city of Philadelphia, I about fell off my chair, something that's called safe injection sites. And you better know that this old cowboy's got some rebuttal on this story. I want to hear what you have to say about it.
Well, it certainly is controversial, but again, that's the idea of experimentation. Some things seem mundane, seem commonsensical, and others seem a little bit out there. But, you know, just interestingly today, they figured out there's something that they're using in French fries at McDonald's grows hair. So, you know, who knows where you find out about stuff. But the thought process behind the Philadelphia thing is, how do we get these people out of the shadows? So, you know, it's embarrassing, or they're fearful of, you know, legal ramifications. There's so much negativity around it, but the bottom line is you want people to get saved. So they're working on the assumption, and again, results will prove whether this is true or not, but the person will come out of the woodwork. They'll now kind of be identified, as it were, to private people, so they're not like in the public or the political or police eye, and they're going to try to get them help. So one, they're using the pretense that here's a place to use these drugs, but of course they're going to control the environment, make sure that everything is clean and surgical. If they have a reaction, they're to take care of them immediately. And then most importantly, they're going to get a chance to start counseling that person and start weaning them off that medication. So in some respects, it's a little bit of a ploy to get them in there, but on the face of it, yeah, it sounds pretty controversial, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, and my biggest question is to you, Jeff Cantor, that knows more about health and health insurance and et cetera, more than I do. Who's going to pay the bill?
Well, that's in this instance, I'm not sure who's paying for that, if that's a city-based or privately funded. But in some instances, it's going to typically come from private funding. A lot of these things seem to be instigated by. You know, people just have family members or something, and they just get to take things in their own hand. Or researchers, and so sometimes it's through grants or schools and So it's going to be kind of a mix of stuff. And that's probably a good thing, because if, like, the government decides to get behind it, they're going to put too many strings on it, and it's got to go a certain way. They're not going to kind of let the experimentation just occur so we can come up with some truths out of this, if we're going to do it.
But, Jeff, isn't this really having these safe injection sites, isn't it really enhancing the problem and just patting people on the head, basically, and saying, here, you can do it, and we'll look the other way legally?
No, not realistically, because it's certainly not encouraging the activity. Some people might say, well, now you're encouraging that. Well, that's not the case, because there's nothing that's provided or anything like that, and they're pretty good about figuring out where and how the person got all these things, so that's a good way to screen that away. But, it's almost kind of a courageous thing to go to such a place, because it's easier just to hide out in your house than to have to go to an AA meeting and say, hi, everybody, I'm an alcoholic. I mean, that's pretty bold. I'm thinking the person that's kind of getting to that level in certain respects is beginning to realize that this problem is bigger than me now. I really do need to start to get some outside assistance.
Jeff,
if somebody realizes they themselves have that problem, they're going to continue to deny it even when everyone around them sees they have it. They will continue to deny until they personally say, I'm a drug addict or whatever, and then the curing begins.
Well, when these people get addicted to opioids, and please, I ask for your excuse to share with me, because I'm not that well up on the subject. When these people get addicted to these opioids, and I'm assuming that they take way over the limits of the pharmaceutical suggestion on what they should take, I mean, how in the world can they ever get off of that?
Really why we got to prevent it from happening in the first place, Deb, because you're absolutely right. Because like any medication, after a time your body gets acclimated to it. I need to keep upping the dosage. And with something that's trying to numb all the pain away, I mean, that's, it's like anybody that drinks to excess. They don't just have a couple, 2, 3 beers. They're drinking like almost relentlessly. So same holds true when they get hooked on these types of things. And yeah, that's why we really need to kind of figure out how do we wean them off onto a different medication, or like they used to do methadone to get people off heroin type of situation. And a lot of it is psychological counseling in some respect or another, because it's really in your head now, almost beyond the pharmacological aspects of it. They have some psychological ties to this medication now, too. It's like a little a pacifier of sorts.
I see. Now, what about the illicit and illegal side of this thing? Where are all these drug pushers getting the opioids to pass on to the street purchaser? I mean, there's got to be some kind of a market, someplace to get a hold of these opioids. Are they that accessible?
Well, interestingly, there seems to be more of accessibility than you would imagine. There just was a recent expose that they figured out a lot of the stuff is being sent by the United States Post Office, and it's being sourced in China and stuff like that, where it's being sent in international shipments or shipped over and then domestically shipped around. So because it's kind of a, it's not like it's something you would smell or sniff out like an illegal drug or whatever. It's just like another little pill bottle going through the mail like a ton of seniors get every day. It's easy to kind of slide it in there. So that's one channel that's been slipping around. And then, of course, there's all the people that get it in some fashion in their local markets, and then they distribute it illicitly, covertly around town type of stuff. And then, sadly, then there's the real black market, where it's criminally driven, and God only knows where that stuff's coming from, or even if it's legitimately what it claims to be.
Wow. And what about the quality, and I underline that word, of the drug itself, that we don't know how it's processed or produced in other countries? Are people really kind of playing Russian roulette by bringing it in?
I don't know if it's anything necessarily bad, because, again, I don't know enough about it to say, but, maybe more filler than anything else. So they need to just take that much more of it because it's too weak, or it's got impurities in it, or they're using low grade. It might be close to what it's supposed to be, but the qualities of materials it's made from are low grade. Because if it's not made in a controlled factory where everybody knows lot number and production dates, and just like any normal pill you would buy, who knows what it is. So once that person runs out of that quote-unquote legitimate prescription, now they're into the gray area, probably.
Okay, if you were the president's drug czar this morning at 9 o'clock, what would you do not only to combat this crisis or all the drug crises in this country? What would you start doing?
Well, it would be traumatic, because like anything, we got ourselves in this pickle pretty badly, and so you have to figure out, well, where were we before when this problem didn't exist to this level, and how do we get back to that? And realistically, when we were a country that had little to no prohibitions on anything, we had very little problem with this stuff. But the minute things like, think of alcohol, it's a really good one that everyone can visualize. There was, alcohol consumption prior to that, but the minute that they had prohibition, suddenly consumption went up, and it became like the thing to do, and it was kind of like the daring thing, and then crime entered it, and prices were real available, but of course what was happening with quality, just like we just discussed. So in some respects, basically most drugs need to be made legal in a way that we can see where the heck they are. Because if I have to go to a store to get something, then it's all up above board. But if everything's hidden in the dark, no one knows what goes on, and these problems fester and build until we are faced with this crisis. And now we're trying to put Band-Aids and point fingers instead of trying to go back to that root cause of what drove us to where we are today. So we'd have to pretty much re-legalize most drugs and really step up big time the idea of therapy, because what are we going to do with all the people that have problems right now?
Wow.
Control the future potential by having it be out in the light like that. But what are you going to do with all the people that have now been caught in this log jam? We got to cure all of them.
What about the sports world?
Undertakings, Seth.
What about the sports world, Jeff? I'm almost out of time, but I would imagine, is that a major problem, like with football and hockey and other sports that have contact for pain? Are they prescribing these opioids? Do they have a major problem?
I don't know how much they're engaged in that. I would think that they would be a little more, circumspect about that, because they're in the eye of everybody all the time of late. But, the drive to these high salaries and the way they've made that idea of sports so lucrative that now you're driving people of, high talents to try to push themselves to the highest of talents, and they're almost obligated to start taking drugs just to keep up with the competition. So we've created a little bit of perverse incentive inside the sports world, too, which doesn't really apply to the normal world. It's a different form of addiction in some instances for them, because, they're either getting hurt a lot and they want to keep playing because the contract's good, or they're just trying to do steroids or whatever to get up to levels that aren't even realistic, and they're hurting their bodies that way. And they also become addicted, therefore, too.
Yeah. Would you say, to sum up, that the opioid crisis is a new drug for suburbia, or is it the drug for, in the alleys of New York City? Which aspect of society is really the most susceptible to getting involved in it?
Probably, I wouldn't say half of them, but like the middle class and up, because unless they're just deciding, I'm going to just start taking these pills because I just want to take them, and they just start buying black market stuff in a lower income area. But normally it seems like most people get onto this stuff off of something that happened to them where they had to take these pills for a medical reason, and then it just mushrooms from there.
Wow. Jeff Cantor, healthcare expert, always welcome on this program. Jeff, if they want to find out more about what you do and who you are, where can they go for a website?
Real simple. Just go to healthexcellenceplus.com, and the word plus is spelled out. So it's healthexcellenceplus.com.
Hey, come back, my friend. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Always fun chatting with you, Zeb.
All right. Take care. God bless. Thank you. Nice man. Very, very knowledgeable. This opioid crisis in this country is absolutely running uncontrolled. Wow. A little spooky. And another negative on our society, unfortunately. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's not forget our dear friend, Hanson Mortuary, Joel Heward, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Oh, my, yes. Always serving you and your family. Joel Heward and his family and his staff, they're there. They have the most flexible hours to serve you when there's the passing of a loved one. Always. And remember this, upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. They care. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-5636. And don't forget, please call the number for pre-planning of funerals to make sure things are done the way you want them done. Joel Heward also with Hanson Mortuary and serving you at our friends at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. In just a few minutes, we're going to have our Idaho legislative update, so bear with me. And I want to remind you, tonight, there is a big meeting tonight at Waddell and Reed office, 1146 Eastland Drive North in Twin Falls. Now, Brian Scott, Dan King, Todd Lovelace, financial advisors with Waddell and Reed, are going to be explaining the need for farm and ranch succession planning. This is important. You know that, guys. And they're going to talk about who needs a plan and what you need to do to get your plan in place. RSVP right now. Write this number down. Call Sarah at 732-7695. 732-7695. This is a free educational seminar, Farm and Ranch Succession Planning, tonight at 6:30 p.m. Waddell and Reed office, 1146 Eastland Drive North in Twin Falls. Don't you miss it. Going to be a good meeting. Oh, hey, our buddy's back with us. We want to say hello to Cade Rogge and the crew with Rogge Auction. And they're getting everything ready for the big spring consignment sale at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds, 85 East Baseline Road in Rupert. It's going to be on March 24th starting at 10 a.m. And they're taking consignments for that big spring consignment sale right now. Farm equipment, four-wheelers, guns, panels, tractors. No, underline the word no, household goods or tires. Don't bring that down there. You can call them and find out about consignments. Call Ron at 431-6187 or Cade at 431-0074. Jed at 670-4042. This is going to be a dandy good sale, spring consignment sale at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds, March 24th, managed by Rogge Auction Company. Good people over there. Let's see. Now, I got to get things organized here. In just a moment, we're going to go to the phone line. And I thought it was going to be Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke, but au contraire, it's going to be our friend Senator Kelly Anthon in just a moment. So stand by for that. And, of course, our legislative update is being brought to you by our friends at our Handy Truck Lines. Yes, Clay Handy and the whole crew serving you. And so that's coming up in just a moment. So stay tuned for that. Want to remind everybody, too, about our friends at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. And the number to call, 436-4771. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. They've got all the snow machines. They've got all the four-wheelers and the side-by-sides. And if you need the accessories, holy moly, they've got a great big accessory department, including the best doggone service department around. Nick and Randy, the whole crew over at Let's Ride, serving you. And it's true. Where the fun is sold. You stop over and see those good folks today at Let's Ride. And real quick, yours truly running a little bit late this morning. I wanted to tell everybody about what's going on at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Out with the old, in with the new. My goodness, they've got all kinds of floor coverings. They've got all the carpet. They've got everything over there for your beautification of your home. My goodness, and you can check this out. Interest-free for 2 years, $69 a month for your carpet, or go to the Better Carpet, $89 per month, or the Premium Carpet, $99 per month, includes carpet pad installation up to 115 square yards or 1,035 square feet. Beautiful carpet at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More with Jeff and the rest of the crew at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop into Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More today. Woo! Now, with all that being said, we won't keep him waiting any longer. Our program, the Idaho Legislative Update, sponsored by Handy Truck Lines. In Paul, Clay Handy and the crew, celebrating 90 years of service to the Northwest with their terminals in Pocatello, Meridian, Salt Lake City, Utah, all over serving folks in the Northwest. Handy Truck Lines, established in 1928. Here with us is one of my very favorite people, Senator Kelly Anthon. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Thank you for letting me be on, and thanks to Handy Truck Line, as always, for letting us do this.
You know, I'm going to get right to it because we've got about 18 minutes, and we need to get right to the situation at hand. Senator Kelly Anthon, what has come up and been on your desk? What are some of the top issues you want to discuss this morning?
Sure. Zeb. There are two things that I'm carrying for legislation this year that I've been really focused on the last week or so. I'm working with the Idaho Farm Bureau and local government, and what we're trying to do is work out a new methodology, a new way to make sure that when we see a real estate development take place, that we're not interrupting the irrigation channels. So one of the things that I've kind of observed over the years is that when we see a new housing unit go in, sometimes the thing that's overlooked is what impact that's having on our farmers with regard to how they get their water from one end of the property to the other. And so that's one of the bills I'm working on right now. The other is a bill that has to do with getting rid of unnecessary regulations surrounding health care. And I love this bill, and I'll tell you why. It doesn't cost a penny. It's going to reduce the cost for local government when they go to buy health insurance products. And it really is more of a common sense approach to how you regulate some of these insurance carriers. So that's a bill that's coming before the Commerce Committee, I should say, today. And I'm really excited about that. So I've got a couple really solid bills that I think are going to help our district, and that's what I'm working on just lately.
Well, let me get into that healthcare bill just a little bit more. Be more explanatory. What is it going to do for Joe Common Citizen or the businessman? Explain that a little bit.
Sure. So in a short word, what it's going to do for John Q. Citizen is it's going to lower the cost for your local government to get health insurance. And it's going to save taxpayer dollars. And here's how. So this is a pretty limited bill. If you can imagine, Zeb, when we talk about local government in Idaho, there are some very small local governments. There are mosquito abatement districts that have only one employee. And we understand this in our area. And when you have that one employee and you're trying to compete in the marketplace and provide benefit, how does a mosquito abatement district with one employee go out and get a health insurance program? It's really difficult. And so what has happened over the years is there is a kind of a coalition. It's a trust. The legal entity is a trust. And it's a pool. So these small local governments pool together and go shopping for insurance products. And so they're spreading their risk amongst all these employees from lots of different local governments. But what's happened is we've discovered that in Idaho, there is an unnecessary mandate in our regulations that requires this group to get, and this gets very complicated, I'm not going to bore you to death, but get an aggregate stop-loss policy on top of all their other stop-loss policy and savings that really doesn't make any sense. And what we've also discovered is Idaho is the only state we know of that's doing this. So it's costing your taxpayers and it's costing these programs a whole bunch of money to run them when it's not necessary. So the reason why I love this bill is because it kind of checks all the boxes for me. It saves taxpayer money, doesn't cost the state anything new, it gets rid of unnecessary regulation, and it's just common sense. I love it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I've answered you entirely, Zeb, but we're going to reduce the cost for these local governments to pool together and go get some good insurance.
Kelly, I know you very well. You've been a great friend of this program, and I'm going to tell you that over the last couple of weeks, I've been a little bit more than dismayed as to the negativity that's been shown to all, not just some or a specific few, but all of our legislators through our local newspaper. What do you think about the condemnation that you guys have been suffering through our local paper? I think it's not deserved.
I think you're right, Zeb, and I'll tell you what. Listen, we're all going to be frustrated at times with government, and we're all going to see mistakes that are made. We're going to see the bad characters once in a while. But I would tell you, on the whole, we've got a really good legislature. And for those of us at home, I'm sure I've got people who don't like me too, but for the most part, we know who we're sending to the legislature, and we know what kind of job they're doing. I think if you want to be honest, you look at the actual results. The proof's in the pudding. That's what I was always taught. Or, look at the fruit of the tree. And the fact of the matter is that the state right now is in excellent shape. You've had me talk about this, Zeb. Bloomberg, of all places, says we're the number one economy in the United States. So from an economic standpoint, and even a low-tax standpoint, my district, District 27, Minidoka and Kaja County, has by far some of the lowest property taxes certainly even in the state. So now, I'm still in favor of lowering some taxes. So, I'm not here to say everything's perfect, but I think we've done a pretty good job, and I think there's always room for improvement. The other thing you realize about government is it's never going to arrive at perfect. If you're waiting around for that to happen, I hate to disappoint you, it's not going to happen.
That's right.
So, hey, if we see something going wrong, the citizens should say something. And but a blanket condemnation of our legislators not being in touch with the people, I just don't see that. And as a matter of fact, when I get a letter or something from home, boy, I tune into that in a hurry. And if I don't agree with it, I try to explain why I don't agree with it. Because, at the end of the day, if I'm not responsive to the people in Minnecaja area, what am I doing here?
Absolutely. That was very well stated. Now, before I get into some other topics, I don't want to be rude. Maybe you've got a kind of a list there that you'd like to go through. What else is on your plate for this morning?
Well, the other thing that I'm really focused on is I'm looking at new tax reform. So as we've kind of visited before, Zeb, when the federal government reformed taxes just recently and changed the way income taxes are calculated, the state of Idaho, just like every state, has to decide how we're going to handle that, because we've typically just kind of copied what the federal government does for deductions and so on and so forth when you file your taxes, so that when you go into H&R Block or your accountant or whoever, maybe you do them at home, and you fill out your deductions, that just transfers over usually to the state tax return. And so that's called conformity. So there's a lot of focus on how we're going to conform to the new federal code. But the real, I think, issue that I've been focused on a little bit in that conformity is that the federal government has changed the way we do deductions for children, for families that have a lot of children. And I'm one of them, so I'm tuned in. I've got 5 kids. So when I no longer can claim the children as a deduction on my federal tax return, that's not a big deal, because what the Trump administration did is they upped my child tax credit. So now we're looking at the other side of the ledger. So it balances out. But in Idaho, we've never had a child tax credit. So the problem is that if we are not careful, we're going to force those who really are paying into the tax system in Idaho to pay more taxes under the tax cuts, so to speak. So there's a lot of work right now, and there was a meeting this morning where I'm working on how do we make a really fair tax system that supports Idaho families and yet affords us the ability to give a tax cut, because the state's cup runneth over right now. And it doesn't hurt when we have our needs met and we're putting a little money into savings, although I think we could put more into savings, as I've said in the past. It doesn't hurt for us to have a tax cut. And so we're gonna be working on that. That's another important issue, Zeb.
One of the issues I wanted to ask you about, and I don't mean to come out of left field and just throw you a curveball here, but I really am upset, Kelly, that we're seeing the resurgence of, whether it's whooping cough or any other diseases, a resurgence coming into our school systems. 13 cases here in the Magic Valley. What happened to the edicts and the laws and the papers that said thou shalt not bring your kids to school without vaccinations? Why aren't we being more specific and demanding on making sure these kids have vaccination programs?
Well, sure, and I can speak to that. I did serve 1 year on the Health and Welfare Committee, and I tackled this issue a bit. I can tell you, Zeb, that the law is, the standard is that you do have to vaccinate your children. Now, there is an exception in the law for those who claim a religious or philosophical. I mean, there are some exceptions to that, but those are the exceptions. And so to, on the enforcement side, I think that probably, again, I don't know, but I'm guessing probably the schools are enforcing it unless there's that exemption. Now, the other thing is that I know there are concerns about immunizations. I know people worry that, they hear things about immunizations. I'll tell you right now, I immunize my children, okay? So that's not the issue for me. But I think that this is a balancing act. If I think about just the general policy of it, Zeb, it's a balancing act in my mind as to what is the compelling government interest versus the right of the parent. and the importance of the parent to be a responsible citizen. So, Zeb, if we see an outbreak of a particular disease and it's just based solely on the fact that people are refusing to be immunized, I think we have to keep talking about that.
Well,
if it's and I think the other thing is I think parents need to get really, really educated on the vaccines, and I think that could help, because I think sometimes you're scared where you ought not to be, and you're uninformed in other places where you ought to be.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, and I said it first hour, and I'll say it again. I think you're talking to somebody here, and this is not meant to be ego-centered at all. Please do not take it that way. I know more about the lack of vaccines. When I had polio and the polio epidemic, I would have prayed anything or given anything to have the vaccine available at that time. I do not want to see a resurgence or a recurrence of those deadly diseases again, because it's absolutely unnecessary.
Well, and Zeb, thank God that we've had vaccines, just like you say, these immunizations. I mean, think of the transformation. I'm a Rotarian, and one of our focuses has been on Polio Plus and getting that throughout the world.
Yep.
Think of the power and the change that's made in our world to have them. So no, we shouldn't be discounting that stuff. As a matter of fact, we should be pursuing every opportunity to find more solutions that way.
I want to ask you this. I'm going to put you on the hot spot because you can handle it. Of anybody I know in politics, you can handle the questions rapid fire, and I've got a lot of respect for that. What do you think about what's going on in states like Kentucky, where they're finally saying, hey, wait a minute. If you want to get the benefits of Medicaid and other welfare services and you're able-bodied, you're going to get a job. You're going to work, and you're going to provide for some of your self-responsibility to pay the bills. I think that should be adopted by all 50 states.
You know, Zeb, it's something that I think somehow we lost. Because if you look back even in 100 years in American history, and you look, for example, at the CCCs, the WPA, and some of these programs that during the Great Depression, when people were in great need, real need, and comparatively to today, I mean, in poverty, I mean, real poverty, not being able to eat and so forth. I think what we did there is we recognized the importance of work, not only because it's the right thing to do, but I think just as a matter of self-respect. And somehow, in some circles of our culture, we have lost the value of work and the value and the understanding that with work and accomplishment in that way, you develop a great self-respect even in times of need. I think there's some real merit in the discussions of saying, listen, if you're on the dole, you have to give back. I think that's a discussion worth having.
For self-responsibility, I mean, if Kelly Anthon has to work to feed his family, Zeb Bell works to feed his family, and we pay our bills, pay for our health insurance and everything else, why is it at all inhibiting anybody that if they're able-bodied, go get a job and start to be self-responsible? It just makes everything better in our economy.
Couldn't agree more. And Zeb, to your point, take a look at the Mini-Cassia area. Burley in December had the lowest unemployment rate in history since they've been taking the numbers. That tells me, and I know it as a matter of fact, there are jobs there. There are jobs available if you want to work and you're able-bodied, just like you say. There's really no excuse. There are great jobs available with benefits and everything, retirement, the whole package deal.
We've got a caller with a question for you, Kelly. Caller, quickly. I'm almost short on time. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, to go along with this dole thing, I think we got to do like a couple of places are doing, and there ought to be drug tests. And if they don't pass them, they don't get it.
You know, and I agree with you, caller. Kelly, what about that? I've been very tough on my program and said that if they can't pass drug testing, no more checks, no more free ride. You're on your own, baby, out the door.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, why? It's really simple. Why should my taxpayer dollars support somebody's illicit drug habit? And, you know, that has been approached in other states. I think, one of the tangles you get in is the federal government. But ironically, and one of the things that is interesting about all that is now you have states, our neighbors, where you can go and quote-unquote legally buy drugs that the federal government says are still illegal.
Oh, my.
And if you were working in the Mini-Cash area and you came in and tested positive for marijuana, you wouldn't have a job anymore. As a matter of fact, that's a great challenge for our employers, is to be able to hire somebody who can pass a drug test.
Yes.
So, no, the federal government shouldn't be supporting that habit. My taxpayer dollars shouldn't be supporting that habit.
Yeah, but Kelly, let me ask you this. Is it a fear of their constituency, a fear of the voters that the politicians, I'm not lumping everybody together, but many, are afraid to really have a get tough policy? Is that what it is?
I don't know, Zeb, because I can tell you right now that is not my constituency. I feel very confident that my constituency would be 100% on, well, maybe not 100%, let's say 99% on board. But, I've been meeting, the other thing, Zeb, is I've been meeting with our Prosecuting Attorneys Association and our state police. And they have told me and encouraged me, and I agree with them, that our position should be unequivocal that we are going to be hard on drug trafficking in our state. We should not be tolerating this. It ruins people's lives. There's no reason for us to be soft on it at all.
Well, when you look at the states like Colorado, legalization of marijuana, selling it, and all the kids, the drivers, the inequity of the system as far as people now are causing and creating more accidents. Boy, I'll tell you what, the first time I hear our legislature wants to try to pass that, you're going to have a fly in your plate of milk.
Well, and I'll tell you, Zeb, heads up on that issue, because there are people in the state, there are groups in this state who style themselves as being the champions of conservative values, who are calling for marijuana legalization. And I've been to Colorado recently, and I've seen what that looks like, and I'm telling you, I am not going to be supporting that. And I'll tell you what else is our governor won't. I know, as a matter of fact, in meeting with him, he'll veto any bill. So, we're safe for now. But you're going to see a continued call for legalization of marijuana. That's coming. And I think we need to decide whether that's good for Idaho. My opinion is it's not.
Okay, I'm almost down to about a minute and a half left, Kelly. Give us anything else that's laying on the table that you want your audience to hear this morning.
Well, I guess I want to come off with a positive note. There's no place else in the entire world that's better to live and to do business and raise a family, and I'm convinced of this, it's not just a line I use, than Idaho. And I think in particular, I really mean southern Idaho. I'm very blessed. I think we all are. It's great to be representing my district, and I'm trying to do a good job.
I can tell you right now, almost everybody I know says you are. I'm very honored to have you on my program, Senator Kelly Anthon. You do a great job. And before I let you go, I just want to give a great big shout out to Clay Handy and Handy Truck Lines for sponsoring this segment. They said in their cheat sheet they sent me regarding information about their company, they're very proud of the good men in their area that continually go to service on the legislature. You are one of those. Kelly Anthon, thank you for being on the program.
Oh, thank you, Zeb, and thanks to all your listeners. Appreciate you guys.
God bless, man. Talk to you later. Thank you.
Take care.
All right. That's the legislative update for this week. And again, I want to say thanks to Clay Handy. Great, great guy and a great company celebrating 90 years in service and operation to the Northwest. And I know that when we talked to Clay about being the sponsor on this segment, they jumped in right away. Handy Truck Lines, 400 West, 100 South of Paul. Clay, thank you very much for your involvement. And celebrating 90 great years of service, transportation services to Idaho and the surrounding states. Holy moly! Got to get a weather forecast on here right now. Can't wait. Got to get her done. Here we go, and it's brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, CPAs, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area and beyond for well over 50 years. It is tax time. You didn't want to hear me say that. I know, but it's true. You better be getting all your information together. Here a receipt, there a receipt, everywhere a receipt. Get all that stuff put together. Call them, make an appointment. Tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, all of this and more with our friends, your friends. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It appears this high-pressure system will be sticking around for the rest of the week, but it's going to be windy as well. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Mostly sunny skies for today. We are expecting winds out of the west, right around 15 miles an hour, gusts possible as high as 30 miles an hour. High of 46 today. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low right near 32. Winds are going to be dying down just a skosh. For tomorrow, mostly sunny skies. High of 52, partly cloudy, and 35 for Wednesday night. Thursday, mostly sunny skies. Thursday's going to be the warmest day of the week with a high of 57. Still going to be a little on the breezy side. Partly cloudy and 38 for Thursday night. Friday, winds are picking up again. Mostly sunny skies and a high of 54 by Saturday. Mostly sunny, breezy, and 41. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And, of course, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. Offices in Burley and Rupert. Get a hold of them today. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Strange individual. Boy, is he a strange individual. Just walked into the studio, and he's going to be here and on the air. I'm going to put him on early. As a matter of fact, just give me 30 seconds. Don't forget, too, when you think about life insurance, think about Cameron and Siemens. When you think about health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits, think about and call Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Dedicated and responsive to your needs, and they can help protect you, your business, and your family. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Number to call, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance. You know, with all the time that we give this man every week, I'm going to give him a little extra time here this morning. And your mic is on, and you just got back, Dr. Ken Turner, better known as Dr. History, from Africa.
Yes, I did.
And are you glad to be home?
You know, Zeb, when I looked out the airplane in New York City and I saw the United States of America, I was glad. And then when I got off the plane in Portland, Oregon, closer to home, I was happy.
Okay, let me ask you this. And a lot of people didn't know you went to Africa. I know we didn't say anything on the air primarily, but what was, if you were to sum it up, what was your initial reaction to the country itself?
Flying into the country, I looked out the window, and it is one of the most beautiful, green, pretty valleys, mountains, an absolutely beautiful country. Lots,
really?
thousands.
See, no, I would not have had that mental picture. I would not have had that.
Yeah, and I didn't. I was thinking of deserty type, dry.
With a lion behind every bush.
Yes, and snakes all over the place.
Don't go there.
But beautiful country. Green and... of course, this is their summer right now, too.
Yeah.
So it does get brown and dry, but when I was there, it was during their summer.
Okay, but now you saw that initially, but then after staying there and touring, what was then your reaction?
My reaction is that we are so blessed in America beyond our wildest dreams of this is a poor country. Third or fourth poorest country in the world.
What part of Africa were you in?
We were in the southeast, a country called Malawi.
I see.
So it's probably, I think it was about a 2 or 3 hour flight from Johannesburg north to get to Malawi.
Uh-huh.
But I saw some amazing things, met some amazing people. And we'll get into that, you know, in our next half hour. So.
You know, I'm so glad to have you back, and it's nice to have you back without a bone through your nose or ears.
You know, oh, Zeb, yeah.
You didn't bring back any black mambas or anything.
You know what? The last night I was there was a small black cobra outside our house that there's a guard there that had killed it.
Really?
That's the only snake that I saw.
And he held it up for you to look at.
I didn't even look. I went the other way.
Attaboy. We're going to go to the news right now. The Other Way from CBS. We'll be back in about 7 minutes with Dr. History. Don't go away. Good morning and welcome back. And it is a treat to have this gentleman back in our studio. I'm going to introduce him momentarily. Don't forget Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, brought to you by, not the frog in my throat, but your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and our great advertisers, including Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Hello, Nick and the crew over at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. He is back, and we're going to introduce him right after this. Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street, near Connection Credit Union in Hayburn. Yes, sirree, Bobby, they are a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small. They love them and take care of them all at Ark Animal Hospital. And don't forget, February is teeth cleaning month. Not for you, Dr. History, for the puppy dogs. And you can get 20% off. Make your appointment right now. And also check out for your dogs the Pyro vaccines, absolutely important. Dr. Bill and the whole crew serving you at Ark Animal Hospital, where they always say they have warm hearts for cold noses. Call them today at 678-1177. You were missed, and it's such a pleasure to have you back on Dr. History, Dr. Ken Turner, and you were in Africa.
I was in Southeast Africa, the country of Malawi.
Why?
I've got a good friend. Him and his wife were there as Christian missionaries. They've been there for a year, and my friend Jack said, "You've got to come. You've got to come and see this." I thought, it's not on my bucket list, but hey, I've got a place to stay. I've got somebody that can take us around. And so I said, okay, I'm going. And then my brother, Stan Turner, he said, hey, I'll go with you. So I had a traveling companion, and that was great, too.
I'll bet you, and I'm going to kind of hurry here so we cover a lot of this, having your brother there was probably a real crutch.
Oh, having him with me, we thought we were able to do more things because he was with me. Because
really?
there was 2 of us, yeah.
Okay, we talked just a few moments ago about your initial reaction to the country from the airplane.
Beautiful.
Green and beautiful. But then what happened?
Okay, when you get down on the ground and you start going through the towns, people there will sell everything and anything to make enough money to buy food for the day. It's about the 3rd or 4th poorest country in the world. Now, let me give you an example on their money, okay? Their money is called kwacha, okay?
Kwacha.
Now, 1,000 kwacha is $1.40. 10,000 kwacha is $14. So 100,000 is $138. So
I got you.
So
so it's like a 1.4 ratio.
Yeah, it's about like that. So
okay.
So I'll just tell you again, green, beautiful, thousands of acres of, they call it maize, which we would call corn. Tea, thousands of acres. Tobacco. Now the maize is a huge staple of their diet, and every family has their own little plot of corn or maize.
Well, now I'm going to interject here something, and you've kind of touched on it. If it's such a lush, green, growing country, very adaptable for crops, why are they starving?
Well, they're not really starving, but it takes everything they can to provide for their families. So all work is done by manual labor. The tea leaves are picked by manual labor. They have macadamia nuts that they pick. And the thing I found interesting is they carry everything on their head. I've seen them carry tubs of water, sticks, wood.
On their head?
On their head. It's balanced. They walk so
How much does that weigh?
30, 40 pounds. 30.
They don't have any necks.
No, well, they have very strong necks. But no electricity or water out from the cities. Really? And in the city itself, even the house where we stayed, during the day, usually there'd be times when there would be no electricity.
So you'd be looking at an indoor or outdoor restroom facility?
They had a generator at Jack's house.
I see.
But we did eat by candlelight a few times. Now, everybody walks or bikes, okay?
Okay.
That's just the way it is. They have what they call bike taxis. So you'd see in some of the towns, you'd see these bicycles, and on the back would be a board about the size of a 2x6, about 18 to 24 inches long, with a pad. And so that guy was a taxi. If you wanted to go from here to there, you would pay him to bike you to that place.
And you go up and sit on the board.
Right, exactly.
How much does it cost?
I don't know. Oh. I didn't try it. Now, the other thing is they have thousands of these little vans that are kind of like a Volkswagen bus van, okay? And these come from Japan after they've had like about 200,000 miles on them.
Oh, my goodness. They still run?
And they come to Malawi. And what they'll do is they'll put a sign in the window of their van. Okay, so they're parked usually several together, so as many as 10 or 15 of these vans. You walk along and you find a van that has the name of the place you want to go to. Then you get in the van and you sit there until the van is full. And it might take an hour, 2 hours. As soon as the van is full, they take off as fast as they can. These vans have about 12 to 15 people in these little vans going to wherever.
Now, did you do this?
No, I didn't do that. Nope, I didn't do that. Bikes carry everything. I saw bikes loaded absolutely above the top of the rider's head.
Oh my!
And then going up hills, they get off and they push. I saw bikes with charcoal, chickens, things tied on, and they would actually cut grass and go sell it to the dairies or the people that had cows. So that's how the farmers got feed for their animals.
What about the roads? What about the infrastructure?
The roads were sometimes very good and sometimes very bad. Sometimes
dirt?
Yeah, sometimes just dirt roads. Yeah.
I see.
So as you go throughout the country, you cannot go very far, even out in the country, without seeing somebody beside the road selling something.
Really?
Whether it's fruit or vegetables or carvings or whatever, people all along are trying to sell a few things to make a little money.
What about the language? I mean, how did you get by with the language barrier?
I didn't. The language is Quechua. Okay, it's called Quechua.
What was the money called?
Quacha.
So Quechua and
is
Kwanzaa.
the language.
Okay,
yes.
All right.
Now let me tell you about one of the more unique experiences. Okay, this guy named Davey that works with my friend Jack arranged for us to go out into the country and stay in his village.
Oh boy!
Now let me describe this village. We were going to be there 24 hours, eating, sleeping, and living as they do.
Did you know what you were getting into?
Not entirely. Okay, so here's this village. Every village has a chief. Okay, and as we got into this village, the chief was a woman, very small, very short, and when you meet her, you put your hand out to shake, you put your left hand on your chest, and you bow to the chief. And
Really?
she likewise bows. So that's the custom as you meet the chief.
So you stick your right hand out and put your left hand over your chest.
Yes.
Okay, and then bow.
Yes. Now, in this village, there were 4,200 people. Now, again, keep in mind, no electricity, no running water. Okay? The first thing we did is we went to the school part of it. There was an orphanage that we went to. Had these beautiful little kids from, they are just beautiful. I don't know how else to describe it. Big smiles on their faces. And due to various diseases, their parents had died, but they had relatives taking care of them. So they had somebody to take care of them.
Right.
The school, okay, get this, Zeb, 2,800 students in this school with 35 teachers. That comes to about 80 students per teacher.
Wow.
Now, because of overcrowding, a lot of the classes were held outside under the trees. They had some buildings, but a lot of times they would go outside for their classes.
Let me ask you this. Do any of the students stay at the school, or do they go home every night?
No, they go home every night.
They do?
Yeah. But it was interesting because for a lot of these people, we were the first outsiders to come into that village.
Really?
There were, as we went along, crowds got bigger and bigger of these little kids crowding around us, wanting to shake our hands.
What about the curriculum at the school, though? I mean, what are they learning?
They're learning just, the math, the science, the normal things.
One teacher does
does all of it.
I see.
Yeah, and they have grades 1 through 8. is the basic, and then there's another 4 years if you can qualify.
I see.
For the next
kind of
4
like an old country school.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, like I say, these kids gathered around us, they laughing and joking, and we were a
Were they
rare...
polite? Were they polite?
Oh, yes. Yeah, very polite, yes. We met a man called the first consul. Okay, he's like the first assistant to the chief, and he spoke pretty good English. So he did the tour around the village for us and explaining things. So after we'd done the school and visited, we went to a big open area where they were going to have a dance. Okay? Now, so we've got all these, I don't know how many hundred people in a circle around this kind of bare dirt area. There was 3 drummers, okay, and they start pounding the drums, and people start dancing all over the place and smiling and just having a great time. So, of course, the guy running the drum, I said, hey, I can do that.
Oh, no.
So
don't tell me you turned into Ringo Starr.
I was pounding that drum, Zeb.
Oh.
And you know what's funny is the people were just laughing and have a great time watching me try to keep the beat with that drum.
Did you?
Pretty much, yeah. And then we went out into this big open area, and there were 3 groups of women that danced for us. And once again, being, the shy person, I jumped right in and started dancing with them.
Maybe that was wrong.
As my brother did. We were dancing with them, and those people just had a great time watching us try to dance like they were dancing.
What kind of a dance is it? Not that I want you to show me, really. But
I don't know. It's just, you just kind of bounce.
Jump around and bounce around?
Yeah, you just kind of bounce and move your hands.
I see. Well, it's not that different than some of the hip-hop.
No.
Okay.
But anyway, then we went to the house that we were going to stay in. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the people that lived in the house had moved out for this 24-hour period, and there really wasn't much to move out. As we went into this little house, there were 4 rooms. One really, really small room where they cooked. 2 small rooms that if you laid down, it was about big enough for one person.
Really?
The larger room was big enough that you could have slept maybe 3 people, but no furniture.
None?
No. Well, actually, I should take that back. There were a few chairs, and that was it. Nothing on the walls, no pictures, no shelves, anything like that.
No remote television?
Nothing. And the house was all made of brick with a cement floor, but they make their own brick with clay. Okay, they make their own brick and thatched roof. And we had a mosquito net that we hung above us. We slept every night with a mosquito net.
What about, now you slept on the floor?
Yes. They had a mat.
What about the snakes?
I asked about that, and they actually had a guy outside all night long watch as a guard.
No kidding.
So, Now the food, okay?
Yeah, that was my number one thing to think about.
That evening we had some food called nasima, which is a dough-like food made from maize. It looks kind of like dough, but it's a little tougher. You just pull off a piece. We eat with our hands.
It's fried?
No. It's just made with maize, so it's not really cooked. We had mustard greens,
and
okra.
What did it taste like?
Very bland. Very, very bland. It was, that's all I can say. It's just really bland. But
were you hesitant in eating all this?
I wanted to try it all, and actually, Zeb, it wasn't bad at all. I mean, I ate. We had chicken that night, which is kind of a rare thing. They don't get meat very often.
Really?
The next morning, we had a breakfast of porridge, which was kind of a soy-type porridge, and it wasn't too bad either.
What did they mix it with?
I don't know.
Any kind of a sweetener or milk or anything?
Actually, they had some sugar.
Really?
Some brown sugar we put on it, and it was okay.
Okay.
We went and visited their local hospital. No electricity, no running water.
In a hospital?
Yes, in this very, very small, they called it a hospital. Okay,
wow.
But the doctor, I don't think he was actually a doctor, but more like an assistant or something like that. But he would sometimes have to sew people up by candlelight.
Oh my!
So I saw many soccer fields that were all dirt. The goals were made out of tree limbs, no nets. Balls were a lot of times made out of plastic bags that had been rolled up and tied. I saw very few actual rubber balls.
No kidding.
So
very poor.
Yes. Another thing they have is what they call bore holes, for water. It's basically a hole in the ground, covered with a block of cement that's maybe 12 feet by 8 feet, and with a pump on the top.
What about sanitization of all this stuff?
Well, that water is, again, coming from deep down.
I see.
And so that's not too bad. But every day, you go get your water. Every day. Okay?
All the water?
Yes. Yeah.
Do they bathe frequently?
I don't know. They had a place for us to... it was a little tiny cubicle type thing, and they brought in some hot water in a tub for us to do our shower.
Really?
They built an outhouse for us.
They built one for
Yeah.
you. If it wasn't built, where were you to go?
I don't know, Zeb. I didn't ask. But they're hoping to make this like a B&B, so they can...
A bed and breakfast?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's on my highlight list.
Now, I know there's listeners out there that are saying, I want to experience the real thing.
Oh, my.
If you really do, you just go to my webpage, and I can give you some information. And we paid them to do this. And they made some pretty good money for us to come out, spend that time, and that goes to the village.
You are painting a picture of a people, and tell me if I'm wrong, that are poverty-stricken, but yet a happy people.
They are. Zeb, as I would try to mimic the words that they were saying, I can't even remember what some of them are, but Zakomi this or that, and these ladies were trying to get me to say it, and I couldn't say it right. They would just laugh and laugh. They thought it was the funniest thing.
Did they know who you were or what you did?
I don't know. All I know is that we were visitors, and they treated us with total respect and kindness.
Really?
And I tell you what, Zeb, that night, is after the eating and the dancing, we sat out on some chairs outside this little house, and the most beautiful sky, the stars and the moon and the Southern Cross, the constellation.
What about the bugs and the mosquitoes? Is it as bad as I've read it is?
I never saw a mosquito.
Seriously?
Never did.
Really?
But again, we slept under, every place we stayed, we slept under mosquito nets.
I see.
So, now one thing, and I can see we're probably going to have to continue this next week.
I hope we can, because this is fascinating to me.
So let me just tell you a few of the customs there, okay?
Okay, well, good, bad, or ugly. Huh?
Well, this could be a deterrent for early pregnancy. If a young girl gets pregnant, her family has to give the chief a goat. The young man responsible has to give the chief a goat. So...
what if they don't have a goat?
They got to go get a goat.
Uh-huh.
And it goes to the chief, who uses it for whatever, for the village.
I see.
She is... The chief is the one that... like, for example, if you have a plot of ground for your maize, and a young couple comes up and they need a little plot for themselves, she's the one that will say, okay, you can have this plot right here. And thousands of acres of this maize. And I said, well, how do you know which one's yours or your neighbor's? Well, they know, because they've been doing it for generations.
Wait a minute, is goat theft prevalent over there?
I tell you what. Unfortunately, we were driving down the road, and I saw 4 young men walking towards us. Zeb, you're crazy. No, I didn't see very many goats. Okay. So we saw 4 young men walking towards us, and one young man had his hands behind his back.
Uh-oh.
Okay?
Yeah.
And as we went past, I looked, and this young man was handcuffed. He had handcuffs on.
He didn't have a goat.
And then, no, he had handcuffs. And so I asked this guy that was our guide at the point, I said, what's going on there? He said, this young man stole something. He's a thief.
Ooh.
And so he was taken, handcuffed, and he was going to be taken to the police. Okay?
How severe are they?
It is severe. They do not tolerate thieves.
Yeah.
So, but this first consul, like I say, he spoke pretty good English. And so, here's the dilemma, Zeb. How do you help people like this? Okay? If you give them money, that's not sustainable. If you give them clothes, that's not sustainable. Because when that money's gone or the clothes are gone, they're still right where they were. So the question I'm going to put out to the listeners are, how do you help them do something that is sustainable? Okay, now this Airbnb, what they call an Airbnb bread and breakfast. This village could capitalize on that, but they have got to have a smartphone somehow in the village because they've got to be able to connect to the internet and the web.
Well, you don't have any electricity to plug it in.
Well, they actually did have a generator that went to just a few lights in the marketplace.
You know what it sounds like to me, and I know we're almost out of time. I can't wait for next Tuesday. But it sounds like politically and leadership-wise, they're really lacking.
They really are. But again, these villages, now my brother Stan is a businessman, okay? And he made some connections with some people there that he's going to connect with them on the internet when they can go to a place to have the internet and try to help them with a business plan so that, because in this village, you've got to have a plan. They're going to have to build a separate little house for visitors. Okay, and we met another man named Peter that lives in the city nearby called Blantyre. He drives. Okay, so with a little help, Peter could pick up the people at the airport, take them to the village, and Davey, the other guy, could stay with them for the 24 hours. They could have the real experience of Africa and the Malawian people, and then they could go back to the town of Blantyre to stay and maybe go on safaris or whatever.
I've only got 2 minutes left here. What is the leadership of their country and or their state doing to help better their people?
You know, they have a president right now, and he has a lot of money. It seems like he has nice homes, and he has several homes in the country. As far as they do have like some sort of a representation type thing.
Do they care about their people?
Well, I think they do, but here you've got a village of 4,200 people. How do you get them to even vote? Or even know who to vote for, because there's no newspapers, there's no TV, no radio.
It would sound to me like they're easily led to be pushed into voting whatever the government wants them to vote for.
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that aspect of it. So in the town we stayed in is called Blantyre. Okay, in Malawi, one of the larger cities in Blantyre.
We have a call, and I'm going to urge the caller to keep it very short because I'm down to the gun. Go ahead quickly, caller. I'm not going to give you more than 15 seconds.
I missed the first part of it. Where was he? I don't know.
All right, go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead.
I was in the southeast part of South Africa, not the country South Africa, but it's on the eastern side. It's called Malawi. It's near Zambia. It's near Mozambique.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There's a huge lake called Lake Malawi. If you find that, that's where we were.
You know, I got to run, but I want to say please, please, please don't miss next week. We're going to continue this. This is an excellent story to have on the air, and I'm so glad you're back safely.
So am I, Zeb.
Did you see quickly any lions, tigers, and all that?
I'll tell you about the animals next week.
And not the black mambas?
No black mambas.
Were you watching for them?
You darn right. I walked pretty carefully through the brush.
Dr. History, I can't wait for next week. Thank you, Doc. I'll talk to you in just a second. Don't forget, on Thursdays, we have a segment called Cassia County School Days, and we want to acknowledge our sponsors, A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. Everything for the family, games, toys, puzzles, dresses, baby furniture, it's all there. And they're celebrating their 15th birthday celebration right now, the 5th through the 10th. Hey, stop in and see them today at Child's World in Burley. Also, Ambulatory Surgery Center for your outpatient surgeries. Stop in or give them a call. Find out more about how they can save you money on your outpatient surgeries, colonoscopies, knee surgeries, etc. 1344 Highland in Burley. Number to call, 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center and a Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County on Thursdays at 10:10. Got to run over to the network, and I should say the studio. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Wow, I just had a great time visiting with Dr. Ken Turner about his trip to Africa. He's going to be back on next week talking about that too. Very, very interesting. Talk about interesting. Tonight, don't forget the free educational seminar, Farm and Ranch Succession Planning. If you want to say in what happens to your farm or ranch, you need a plan. Well, the good folks at Waddell and Reed in Twin Falls at 1146 Eastland Drive North tonight at 6:30 p.m. are going to have a great planning meeting. Brian Scott, Dan King, Todd Lovelace, financial advisors with Waddell and Reed, are going to be explaining the need for farm and ranch succession planning, who needs a plan, what you need to do. So please be there. Call right now, RSVP your spot, 732-7695. Tonight at 6:30, Waddell and Reed office, 1146 Eastland Drive North in Twin Falls. Don't you miss it. Wow, I'm running late. I hope he gives me his apology. My apologies are accepted by him. Richard Manning with, of course, President of Americans for Limited Government. Richard, always good to have you on the program. God bless, man. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How are you doing?
Well, I got to be honest with you that I've had so many calls after my program's over. People are confused about all the garbage that's going on, whether it's the memo, the FISA memo, or now it's going to be the release of the Democrats and the he said this, they said this, she did that, he did that. What in the heck is going on, Richard?
What's going on is the Democrats said prior to the release of the House Intelligence memo, they said it was a disaster, there was national security at risk, and it should not be released under any circumstances because it was a threat to national security and an attempt to stop it from being released. And once it was released, they said, oh, well, there's nothing here, so there's nothing to read here. What that tells you is the Democrats don't want you to read the memo. And as a public service, I have put a website up called readthememo.org. So anybody who wants to can go and read the memo and judge for yourself. You know, if it doesn't trouble you that the Democrats, that the Clinton administration, the Obama administration, the DOJ, went and to the FISA court to get warrants to be able to spy on the Trump campaign officials, using Clinton purchase documents, DNC purchase documents that are fallacious, that are not valid, and use that to be able to get approval to spy on Trump officials. Well, if that doesn't bother you, then there's nothing there.
Richard,
if you're sane, American, and you actually believe in that the government shouldn't be getting involved, that our intelligence agencies shouldn't be getting involved in political campaigns, and shouldn't attempt to take down the duly elected president of the United States afterwards. If you believe that, then you should be concerned. So I would encourage everybody to read the memo. They can go there and they can take action and tell their members of Congress to stand firm and not back away from pushing forward and getting the truth out.
Richard, you do this for...
ultimately, the Democrats don't want you to read it because they know that what was done is so beyond the pale that anybody who is thinking would say, this cannot be allowed in America, this cannot stand in America. And so they don't want you to know about it. It's that simple.
All right, now let's take it from that point then, Richard. The Democrats basically got their tail caught underneath the rocking chair. What is this memo that they want to release? I mean, is this a he said, they said, she saw, he saw type thing? How long is this going to go back and back?
That's what they're trying to do. And I obviously haven't seen this memo. The Republicans, by the way, while the Democrats voted unanimously not to release the memo from the House majority on the Intelligence Committee, the Republicans voted to release the Democratic memo. So they have voted to release it, and now goes to the president's desk to be reviewed for 5 days and then be released if the president chooses to release it. So the Republicans have been pro-transparency. You want to tell your story and give it a minority opinion? Go ahead. should have had their memo done before, but the fact they didn't do their work is not the Republicans' fault. But everybody will get a chance to see what the Democrat retort is. Here's the key things, Evan, and it's really, really, really significant. There are 4 quotes that, if people remember these 4 quotes, and I'm going to have them up on my website at getliberty.org today. These 4 quotes, they will know everything they need to know about everything that's going on. The first quote is from Christopher Steele, who testified in court. He's being sued in a libel suit over the dossier in Great Britain. He testified in court that he can't be expected to validate the content of his dossier. So that's the guy who started, who actually presented the document. He's saying he shouldn't be held liable for anything that's in that dossier, for it being truthful or not, in the court of law, under oath. Second one, we have James Comey, who testified before Congress, saying that the dossier is salacious and not validated, not verified. So the head of the FBI at the time said under oath that the FBI had not verified the dossier. We have Andrew McCabe, who has come to the news lately, who was the deputy director of the FBI and an acting director after Comey was fired. Andrew McCabe testified under oath to Congress that without the dossier, they would never have gotten the FISA warrant against any of the Trump officials. Okay, so the dossier was critical, and they never would have gotten a FISA warrant without it. Okay. And then your fourth quote. I'm normally good at remember 3s, but the fourth one always confounds me, and I usually write this stuff down and read it to you. But if you just know those 3, okay. It tells you the FBI says it's not validated, that the dossier is wrong. The guy who wrote it says he can't be held liable for the contents of it because he can't validate it. And the FBI used it, because McCabe is telling the truth, the FBI used the dossier as a primary piece of evidence, which they would not have gotten warrants against the Trump campaign without that dossier. So you can surmise from that the dossier, all the FISA court warrants, all the warrants issued under that with the dossier were in fact gotten by something that was not just political, but which was unverified. So it was made up. It was nobody will take legal responsibility for it. So it has absolutely no credibility whatsoever. And then the fourth thing is what the former head of FBI counterintelligence, this Peter Strzok fellow, okay, the guy with a girlfriend who he sends all the text messages to and was text messaging every 4 minutes to her for like 3 months. One of those many text messages that they were able to find said the following. It was discussing whether or not he wanted to go join the Mueller investigation. And it said, I'm not sure I want to go and join the Mueller investigation because there's no there. Meaning that here's the guy who had access to all the data. He had all the facts. He was after the campaign. So this is in February of 2017. So the campaign's over. They've looked at all the FISA, all the warrants in the FISA, and all the information that came up with. He was in charge of the entire investigation. And he said, to his girlfriend, in a moment of just being honest and talking back and forth about his career, he said, I'm not sure I want to go there because there's no there in terms of the Russia collusion.
Wow.
So the FISA, the entire dossier is a fraud. It was used as a means to get warrants against the Trump campaign. So the DNC effectively spied on the Trump campaign using the government. And the guy who was in charge of that, who hates Trump, said there's no there in terms of Russian collusion.
Yeah.
But given that, what has Robert Mueller been doing the last year?
Spending our money.
spending our money and trying to take down Donald Trump on process crimes.
Yeah. You know, Richard, let me interject something, then we'll take a call. But now I'm going to make this in very simplified terms. Agree with me or disagree with me that this is a fictional piece, the dossier. No validation. It's like writing a fiction book like Alice in Wonderland, and then all of a sudden the FBI and the DOJ and everybody reads it and they jump down the rabbit hole thinking it's truth, and this is the mess we're in today. Is that about a real quick synopsis?
Yes, except for one thing. The FBI was part of writing the book. So it was not an innocent mistake. It was a planned foray. So just if you take that and then you say, yeah, but the FBI was the unnamed co-author of Alice in Wonderland, and then they used that fantasy as the excuse to do what they wanted to do, which is to go after President Trump.
Oh, my goodness. Let's take a call. This is absolutely insidious. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Quickly, please.
Well, and I'm not sure if you know or not, but Judge Contreras was the first judge who received the application for the FISA court, warrant. He was the very first one, and he was removed. And there's evidence that he knew what was going on, but I haven't heard anything about him. And then there's a gentleman in the in the Department of Justice or the FBI named Carlin, who was involved with this somehow, and I didn't know if you had any information on that. I'll hang up.
Respond to that caller, would you please, Richard?
I can answer on Judge Contreras.
Okay.
What I know. Judge Contreras was reportedly on the FISA court. He was part of issuing the ability for surveillance of Mike Flynn. And then he was the judge who was overseeing the Mike Flynn case. And his superiors on the bench, the chief judge, removed him against his will, forcibly recused him from the case, the Mike Flynn case, after it was discovered that he had overseen the FISA warrant as well. So Contreras was a guy who violated all judicial ethics. We have Jeff Sessions who's bending over backwards to follow legal ethics through the recusal, but Contreras, on the other hand, was bending over backwards to violate all the rules.
Wow!
And so he was essentially, you can't fire a federal judge, but he was fired off the case by his boss.
Richard,
I can't speak to the other gentleman who was mentioned. I wasn't familiar with the name.
Yeah, Richard, I guess my obvious question at this juncture would be, with your expertise in looking at and studying this whole mess, and that's what it is, how does this mess get disseminated to where we clean it up? Or is it going to be an ever-lingering case of the flu for time immortal to come?
Well, the other side doesn't seem to be giving up, and we're not going to give up. So I hate to say this, but I don't think we're going to be rid of this anytime soon. But the one thing that can happen is this. The other side is depending upon the Republicans to lose their resolve. And this isn't a matter of defending Trump.
Yeah.
This is a matter of defending the truth. This is a matter of defending the rule of law. And the House Intelligence Committee is not filled with a bunch of Freedom Caucus members. It's filled with a bunch of really pretty moderate Republicans. And so this is how egregious these abuses have been. And it's not the conservative wing of the party that's driving this out of House Intel. It's really the moderate wing of the party, by and large, that's driving this, because the offenses are so egregious to basic civil liberties that nobody can stand by and allow them to occur. And so I would encourage, the thing they need is they need their fellow House members to be saying, thank you for doing this. Thank you for taking on the hard work. You're under attack. Representative Devin Nunes, who I named the 2017 Congressman of the Year about a month ago because he was pushing this through and doing his job. He's under attack now like no member of Congress has ever been. And he needs the support of his colleagues, and that means he needs the support of their constituents, calling them and thanking them for taking this on and being courageous and doing their job.
Absolutely. We've got another caller with a question for you, Richard. Go ahead, please, caller.
Now, isn't any evidence that it's obtained against someone, if it's obtained illegally, like these FISA warrants weren't really legal because all the evidence isn't that supposed to be thrown out of court and can't be held against you? I'll hang up.
All right, go ahead and answer, please.
Yes, sir. There's a legal doctrine called fruit of the poison tree. And I would argue that, and what it means is, if the place where the information came from was illegal, or when they illegally obtained it, then any information that they obtained from that initial illegal action is also deemed to be illegal. And I would argue, and I will freely admit that I did not go to law school in law school, so I don't have that disability. But it seems pretty clear to me that lying to or omitting information from the FISA court and moving forward with actions based on that creates a fruit of the poison tree situation. And I believe, from what's being talked about in D.C., that that's the main point of attack that the Democrat response memo out of the Intelligence Committee will be going after. And they're trying to make the case that it isn't fruit of a poison tree.
Richard, will President Trump, I know it's on his desk right now, they're looking and reviewing the memo, will he open it up for public scrutiny? I think it would be to his advantage if he did.
I hesitate to guess what the President of the United States will do, but I suspect he will say this is what they have to say. And the only redactions that might occur is if there truly is something in there that is of national security concerns.
And to lump it up and simplify this whole mess, it's nothing more, in my opinion, I'd like to hear yours, than a very enamored plot to try to overthrow the Trump administration because they've got sour grapes, their person lost. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with the initial statement that this is a continuing. There's four pieces of this. The first piece was the original gathering of information, which the Clinton campaign participated with the FBI, and the second piece is was the FISA court stuff, which was driving the weaponizing of the FBI. Third piece was the Mueller investigation, and the fourth piece is when the House attempts to impeach President Trump. Those are the four pieces of this. We're in the third stage of their plan, and we've got to stop them right now.
Absolutely.
So that's what their plan is, and and we're basically battling for whether or not elections matter. And they refuse to accept the outcome of the election. They never accepted the outcome of the election. When President Trump said that black unemployment was at all-time low, they sat on their hands because they can't give Trump any credit for anything because their mantra is Trump is not legitimate. So they cannot allow him to have credit for anything, and they can't be seen applauding him. That is where we're at in this country. And anybody who tries to say that Devin Nunes or anybody on the Republican side is creating divisiveness, or that there are Russian bots trying to create divisiveness, which is what Adam Schiff, the minority leader on the House Intelligence Committee, reportedly said at the University of Pennsylvania, that there's some kind of plan by the Russians to divide us. Remember this: there's only one party that won't clap for lower black unemployment.
That's right.
And that's the party that a majority of blacks vote for.
That's right.
And the reason is they can afford for blacks to be working and not dependent on government.
There you go.
So let's be real. There's only one party that benefits from divisiveness, and it isn't the Republican Party.
I amen to that, and yesterday that was solidified with another guest I had on by the name of Reverend Bill Owens. He said exactly what you just said. I want to compliment the President of Americans for Limited Government, and this man, Richard Manning, won the Impact Award, fighting for American liberties. God bless you, my dear friend. Congratulations again, and please come back and talk to us in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you, Zeb.
Thank you, sir. Wow, I have nothing but the utmost respect for Richard Manning. He lays it on the line and talks to you in very plain terminology about the Democrats and what they're doing to hurt this country and the current administration. Right now, I've got to get a weather forecast on here real quick. Wheels is saying, Zeb, you're running late. I am. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. And you can go to their website, www.scarrowsmeats.com. Delicious meats. Everything from breakfast sausages to the bacons to the bratwurst to the prime ribs. Oh, the prime ribs. They're delicious smoked hams. All of this and much, much more with Don Scarrow and the crew at Scarrows Meats in Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It appears this high-pressure system will be sticking around for the rest of the week, but it's going to be windy as well. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Mostly sunny skies for today. We are expecting winds out of the west, right around 15 miles an hour, gusts possible as high as 30 miles an hour. High of 46 today. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low right near 32. Winds are going to be dying down just a skosh. For tomorrow, mostly sunny skies. High of 52, partly cloudy, and 35 for Wednesday night. Thursday, mostly sunny skies. Thursday's going to be the warmest day of the week with a high of 57. Still going to be a little on the breezy side. Partly cloudy and 38 for Thursday night. Friday, winds are picking up again. Mostly sunny skies and a high of 54 by Saturday. Mostly sunny, breezy, and 41. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
And thank you very much, Gina. And the weather brought to you by Don Scarrow and his great, great crew over at Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. Delicious meats at Scarrows Meats. Don't forget, they're changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Oh, my. Big program again tomorrow. Be sure and tune in. We're going to have Dave Beagle. We're going to have Megan Barth. Oh, she's excellent from Las Vegas. We're going to be talking to her. And don't forget our major sponsor. We want to give a big shout-out and a thank you to all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Doing the right thing matters, and they do the right thing. It's their founders celebration, and to celebrate and commemorate this, they're giving you some great buys on super tires for your car, your pickup, and your SUVs, along with free brake checks. They want to make sure that you're ready for whatever comes on your path on the highways and byways. A free pre-trip safety check of your vehicle. Hey, they believe in your driving safely, and they can help. They will help. Don't forget the best in brake service, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this and more, of course, with all the tires at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and, of course, Randy on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I got to run. It's been a busy program, and we'll be back here again tomorrow morning at 8:06 and saddle the horse and ride for 3 hours right here on Zeb at the Ranch, where we always say the way things were are the way things ought to be. God bless. Have a great day.